Hey there guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 119. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today we are talking about Baldur's Gate 3, Gadot, Scott Pilgrim, Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, My Adventures with Superman, Spider-Man Lotus, and more. But as usual, we're going to start with our recent activities. I will actually go first because I have some things I could quickly run through. So obviously, I was really praising Mutant Mayhem, so I went to go and rewatch it. It was definitely a very interesting experience because for some reason, like the row in front of me was just all kids. I don't know if it was just like a field trip or some shit, but I think it was literally just one group because they all strolled in at the same time. And I was like, oh God, this is going to be fun. But yeah, it was still a fun movie theater experience. I think that a lot of the jokes are definitely catered more towards us, like adults, because a lot of the kids didn't get what the hell was going on with some of those jokes, because it's a lot of pop culture references and whatnot. So, but still, definitely worth watching in theaters if you have the time, because I'm sure that it's gonna disappear from there very soon. The next thing I've been doing is reading the Sonic IDW series. I'm really far behind. So I read up to everything that I have on me right now, which is issue 59. This is issue 55. I only picked this one out because the cover is very nice. I really do like the artwork. But yeah, I mean, the new characters Surge and Kit, they're sort of like Sonic and Tails clones that they introduced, and that arc is very good. I really do like that. And I forget exactly what happens before then, but the Surge and Kit stuff, very good. They also have like a little like mini series, I believe, right before they introduce them within the main series, so you get a better idea of who they are and everything like that. But yeah, Sonic Twitter was kind of going crazy over the newest issue because Sonic and Blaze were holding hands and Blaze was blushing. Yeah. So, that was definitely a fun, hour. So just seeing everyone react to that one panel. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to go back to my local comic book shop and pick up those issues and read them and hopefully catch up. The next thing I've been doing is playing a little bit more Pikmin 4. I know Damian finished it, but I have not 100%ed it. I only went back into it because I actually didn't play Olimar's Shipwreck Tale. So I wanted to play that before I did like my full review and everything. So I needed to go and get gameplay footage of that. But I only did the first couple of days, and it is very good. I mean, like, I do feel the pressure of the 15-day time limit because I'm like, oh God, it's like, oh shit, I need to get all 30 of these parts. And it sucks when like, because I think the second area, I forgot one part, and I'm like, that's gonna waste a day, and that sucks. So I'm definitely gonna go back once I like get everything else to go and get that last part. But Pikmin 4 is still very good. I'm still a long ways away from like 100%ing it, but with everything coming out and other games that I need to play and check out, maybe I'll finish it before the end of the year. But yeah, Pikmin 4 is still my contender for Game of the Year as of right now. And then the other thing I've been doing is I've been cripplingly addicted to Teamfight Tactics. This newest set is a lot of fun just because the augments, which is sort of like perks that you get throughout the game, you get it 3 times at the beginning of each stage, and it sort of gives you like a little bonus or like a little buff, and like those can also change with the certain champion that you pick. So like I picked Ezreal because he is very much focused on items, and then you could also pick other champions as well, obviously. I know Caitlyn, you could like get like really strong units early on, like 2/2s like instantly. And yeah, every single game is very different because at the beginning also you get to choose like a board that will dictate how the game is played. So like just like one example is like everyone gets like items at the beginning. Like everyone gets to choose like kind of like what items they get, quote unquote. They're called item anvils, and there's a lot of other things that they've changed within TFT, like when you grab a champion on the carousel, the item doesn't stay on there. It actually comes off. So you don't have to worry about like, oh my God, it's going to combine, and then like the item's going to combine and shit like that. So there's like a lot of like quality of life changes that they've done as well for the game. But yeah, TFT, I'm like hard stuck fucking gold, but I still love playing it for some reason. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I've been doing. I'll talk about Baldur's Gate 3 when Damian talks about it, because he's played a lot more than me.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll start with Resident Evil 3 first. So I said I would do this like last podcast because I want to, play Resident Evil 4 this year eventually. There's a lot of games coming out, so we'll see. But yeah, I did Resident Evil 3. Like people said, it's very short. Resident Evil 2, I think, took me like 10 hours, I think, to do both stories. So it was like a decent length. Resident Evil 3 took me like 6 hours, so it's definitely a lot shorter. But I thought it was fun. I don't really have the I guess I didn't play the original, right? So I don't know how it stacks up against the original. I know people swear by the original and think it's way better than this remake. Because Nemesis, the guy who's chasing you the whole time, in the original game works a lot like how Mr. X works in the Resident Evil 2 remake, where he's always chasing you out the whole game. So he feels a lot more threatening. In this game, or in this remake of 3, he kind of just appears in set moments and you just gotta run from him and then you're like good, right? Like I feel like Mr. X was a lot more scary just because he's always there and he's like really threatening and scary. This game just feels a lot less scary. Also because the game introduces like a dodge mechanic, so you do feel like a lot stronger just in general because you could just like dodge out of the way of zombies and stuff. It makes it like a lot more fun gameplay wise, but in terms of like scariness, like I never really felt that scared at all during this game. Like 2, it was like, oh god, I'm like kind of terrified the whole time. This game I don't really feel that as much, but the game is still really fun. If you don't mind a shorter game, the game encourages you to play through the different difficulties and do all that stuff. There's a ton of unlockables to do, so that's pretty fun as well. I know the original Resident Evil 3 also had like weird, like kind of roguelike-y mechanics where you could go into the game again and like some puzzles are different and stuff. This one doesn't have any of that. So it's mostly just doing it through it with harder difficulties and stuff. But I still found the game really enjoyable. I think it was still a great game. Definitely not as good as Resident Evil 2 Remake, but I still don't say it was like, oh, this game like ruined like Resident Evil 3's reputation or whatever, because I thought it was good. So I don't know, I think it's still well worth it. It's always on sale for like $20 or something, so I definitely think it's worth the price as well. So I had a good time. I'm very excited to play Resident Evil 4 because I know that's like that's the big one there. All right, so yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. This game fucking blew up. Like, I did not expect this game to do as well as it's been doing. I was always interested in it because I like games like this. But, it's been getting a lot of people who don't normally play these type of games to play it, mostly because of the multiplayer aspect of the game. That's kind of like the big selling point. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've been playing with my friend. And it's a good time, it's, it's, if you don't know how these games work, it's like they're called CRPGs, and you just kind of, it's like this top-down perspective. There's a lot of talking, you do a lot of dialogue choices and stuff, and since it's D&D, you have the flair of D&D stuff, so you have like, there's dice rolls all the time. All of the enemies are called from the original D&D stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of the combat rules are also based off D&D as well. I've never played D&D, so I don't really know. Mm-hmm. But if you ever played any RPG like this, you'll be fine. Like if you play like even like some Bethesda RPGs, you probably know what you're getting into with like dialogue choices and make sure you have enough charisma or persuasion. All that good stuff. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of variation in your playthroughs and stuff. Like in my playthrough, I'm sort of letting my friend take the reins here. She's just like killing everyone. So I'm like, okay, that's not what I would do. But sure. So I've been killing a lot of people, like a lot. I would have not done that. I like to play these games like as a pacifist, or like just be like, hey, I'm gonna talk this out. Even though it's not as quick, I will do it like in a way that makes sure everyone's like alive. Like mm-hmm. I killed like 2 party members. Like 2 party members are just dead. So I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know if that was supposed to happen. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I will be honest though, with terms of games like this, like I'm having fun playing it multiplayer and stuff. But I won't lie, I probably would enjoy it more if I was playing it by myself, because I feel like I don't get as immersed, or you're more focused on talking to the other people, like the actual people in the call, rather than paying attention to a lot of the lore. So I feel like a lot of things are kind of going over my head a lot of the time, and that usually doesn't happen to me when I'm playing games like this. But because I also feel like I have to kind of rush through dialogue, because I'm like, okay, I need to get a move on, because I could spend like hours just talking to like 2 people like in these type of games. So I'm like, okay, I should probably make this like not as like annoying for other people. But I know that's gonna change from person to person. Like if you're someone that doesn't play these type of games, playing with other people is gonna be like probably the only reason why you're playing a game like this.
Yes.
So I think that's cool. But I think the game does encourage you to do other playthroughs if you're into that, because like I'm already seeing this playthrough is going off the rail, and like if I was playing it, I would do a lot of things differently, and I think that's cool. Like I think that means there's a lot of variation how you could play this like one game, and you could easily get hundreds of hours out of this game. Like one playthrough is probably like around 100 hours by itself. So that, and you probably have like a bunch more like dialogue options and stuff that you would never have done if you were playing with other people or by yourself or whatever. So I think that's really cool. And yeah, I have played Divinity. I have played a bit of Divinity, which was the Larian's other game they did before this. And the game basically plays very similar to that. Just this game has a way bigger like budget basically. So like the combat basically feels the same as well. Like I'm like, oh, okay, this kind of just feels like Divinity combat, which is good. It's turn-based, it reminds me kind of like XCOM a bit. Like, you have your, like, you could dash and move around and it's like more tactical and stuff. I like it. I know a lot of people are like kind of iffy on the combat and stuff, but I don't mind it. It's not like the best thing about the game. Like the best thing about the game is all the crazy stuff you could do with dialogue and all the different choices you could do. But I still think combat's serviceable. And yeah, I think it's just great so far. Again, I'm not up to like I know Act 3 is really buggy right now because it makes sense that Act 1 is probably the most polished because it was in early access for like 3 years or something. So it's been pretty flawless right now. Like I haven't had any bugs, but I heard it does get pretty rough towards the later half of the game. But I guess we'll see when I get to it. But yeah, I've been really enjoying the game. I think it's super fun. I like it a lot. I just love games like this. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun.
I hate Baldur's Gate. No, I'm playing. It's definitely a learning curve for me because I'm not really a person that plays a lot of these games, and definitely the multiplayer aspect is why I'm playing it. Louis and my girlfriend, they both sort of like chipped in and like paid for my copy because I was like, I'm not paying $60 for this shit because like I know I'm not gonna like enjoy it that much because I've tried D&D before and I was just like I can't really like get into it, but like it was just like a very small group of us that were doing it at the time, so maybe if it was like a bigger party or whatever. But I recently watched the Trash Taste episode where they were talking about like board games and D&D and stuff, and they were like, Connor said that like D&D is kind of cringe or whatever, and I was like, that's fucked. I mean, I can see where he's coming from, but playing Baldur's Gate 3, I'm just trying to going with the flow. My character's name is Sonic and he looks fucking weird. It's like a human person with like blue hair and like a blue mustache and shit. So, I'm just like trying to have fun with it. Obviously my favorite part is the combat because that's when I could fight and like do gameplay stuff. The lore and everything like that, I'm not like super into it, and some people may be pissed off at me for that, but I'm just there for the vibes because my girlfriend, she will play this game for 12 hours a day if she could. If she didn't have a job, she would be doing that every fucking day. But because she has responsibilities, on her days off, she's 100% playing this game from day to night, and I'm just like, okay, like if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. And she's already done like multiple different other saves, different characters and shit like that. Like after we played earlier this week, she spent like an hour making another character. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, what? But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely a lot of people's game of the year, which I could see why, because there is so much shit in this game. And I know that there was like that whole IGN thing with like I guess like how polished the game is or whatever, which I didn't look into it, which is why we're not going to be talking about it on this episode. But yeah, the game is like pretty good so far in terms of like performance. I'm playing it on PC, so like sometimes I guess like my PC can't necessarily like handle it properly, so sometimes it'll like freeze like at the start of a cutscene, but I'm just like, all right, whatever, like that's what I expect with like PC games when I play like solo stuff or whatever. If I'm playing online stuff, I fucking hate that, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, if you have a group of friends to play it, sure, try it out, see if you'll like it. But I can't necessarily recommend it to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a game that's like you kind of have to be kind of into it, or I like RPGs like this, or you have friends that like kind of shepherd you through and like, okay, like this is what you do. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed. It's not as complicated as I thought it would be. I don't know if from like a new person's perspective, if someone doesn't play a lot of games like this, but I actually found it like, oh, this is like way simpler than I thought it was going to be. Like I was expecting a lot more menus and stuff, but not. I found combat to be very simple. I found a lot of gameplay mechanics to be really similar to other games in like this archetype, I guess. So it's been a very smooth experience for me. I'm just this is like easy. Like, I kind of know what I'm doing. Just kind of like learning how specific stuff works. Like honestly, the hardest part is just like finding out like what dialogue would kill someone or something. So but yeah, it's been a great time. I've been really enjoying it. I would be playing way more of this if I could, but I kind of can't. So I don't want to like either go too far and like play more than like but it's been a good time though. I've been having a good time with it. And then lastly is Overwatch 2. So I went on Steam recently. It's now the lowest rated game on Steam, which I predicted that so fucking hard. I'm like, I don't know why it's going on Steam, because I knew instantly people were gonna like downvote that shit, and it is. I didn't expect it to be the #1 downvoted game on Steam. That's insane, but I definitely expected it to be like negative though. Like I definitely predicted that. But yeah, it introduced a new season, Invasion. They introduced a lot of stuff. There's a new hero. Alari. I don't really know how to say her name because I haven't watched anything with her like her name being pronounced. But she's a new support hero. Like support hero because she fucking murders people. She has like a rail gun and it does like a pretty decent amount of damage. Her ult is basically just a damaging ult, so she shoots like this orb at someone. And it slows them and also like puts like a sticky bomb on them, and if you shoot it they explode for a shit ton of damage, so that's cool. She also has a healing turret that heals like a lot. Like if you put it in a good place where your enemies can't like shoot it and people can just back up to get healed, it heals a really good amount. Her like healing on her gun is pretty bad, but the heal turret really makes up for it. And she has like an escape too, like she press shift, she does like a jump that knocks people away and she could like run away and stuff.
What the fuck?
She's really fun. They're already nerfing her though. Like I think she's getting nerfed next week. Like they're nerfing her healing turret, healing rate, and her ult. So I think that'll make her a bit more manageable. Because right now I'm like, oh damn, she's really strong. So yeah, she's fun, but I do think she was a little too overtuned. I feel like Lifeweaver was very undertuned, and he was like not very fun to use. He was just very complicated, and his moves were just like I don't know. It just didn't felt worth to use anything in his kit. I do feel like this new support hero is a little too overtuned. I do like that she is pretty simple though. Like I do feel like a lot of the heroes we've been getting have like way too many abilities, and it's just like okay, this is a little much. I do like that her simplicity, but in terms of like her power, I think she was too powerful. The new game mode Flashpoint, it's fun. There's 2 new maps, like 2 really big maps, and the way it works is the first team to capture 3 control points wins. So there'll be like 5 control points on this huge map, and only 1 is active at a time. And then you just play King of the Hill. So you get that point. It does capture a lot faster than normal, like King of the Hill in Overwatch. So, the game goes about the same rate. So you capture it. When the team captures a point, then a new point unlocks, and then everyone moves to that point. It's fun. I like it a lot more than Push. Like I think Push is like it's not very fun in my opinion. I think it's better than like 2CP. I think anything's better than 2CP. So I'm so happy Push like got rid of that game mode. But it's fun. I think it's a fun game mode. I think it's again a lot better than Push. I've been enjoying it. And the big thing is the PvE or story missions. You pay extra $15 for this, so I did that. And I played them, and they were fun. Like I had a good time with them. But is it worth $15? Probably not. Should it be more? Yes, definitely. I feel like there definitely should have been at least 5 missions. I think that would have been a lot better for $15. Because I do feel like the first mission was like kind of whatever. Like I honestly felt kind of disappointed after playing the first mission because I'm like, this is like kind of lame. I think the second mission is actually great. Like I think the second mission has a lot more going on to it. The mission objectives are a lot more fun. I played on the second hardest difficulty, and I thought we lost a lot during the first bit because like defend some ship like that's getting people out of like the robot invasion or whatever, and that defense part is like pretty difficult. And then the last mission is also pretty fun. It's a lot shorter than the second one. Is the longest one. That one was like 20 something minutes, and then the first one and the last one are like 15ish minutes, I think. The last one's also pretty difficult. Like you have like this like little payload part where you go through like a map. That part's fine, and then you have like this sort of tower defense part at the end that's like really hard. Like I feel like the enemies have way too much HP for that, so I did lower it to like hard difficulty. And then it was like fine. But I thought the missions were fun. The cutscenes that preceded them and that sort of ended the mission, I think, were really high quality. Like they looked really good. And I'm like, yeah, Blizzard cinematics are usually pretty good. In terms of story, it's pretty basic. It's just like, the evil robots are coming to take everyone and stuff. And that's about it. So not like a lot story-wise or whatever. But they were fun. Again, were they worth waiting like 4 years? And are they worth $15? Probably not. I'll say like, either wait until there's more missions available or just like not bother. But I do think they were pretty fun. But again, this kind of goes into the whole thing about them canceling PvE. There's no replayability, all of that stuff. Because yes, once you finish these missions, there's really not much for you to do with them. Like you could do them in harder difficulties, or you could play them as other heroes and sort of get like journal entries or whatever. But that's not like enough to bring people back, Once you do them once, you're kind of over it. So with no leveling system or no real rewards attached to these story missions, they're kind of just one and done content, and then like you're done. So yeah, I will say this is probably the best season of Overwatch 2, but that's not really saying a lot. So yeah, again, it's still like a fun game when you're just playing it casually, but yeah, it has a lot of issues, and that overwhelmingly negative on Steam is probably deserved. So yeah.
All my homies hate Overwatch.
Yeah, yeah, basically. Some cost fallacy with me.
Yeah, I feel that. We're going to move on from there, get into the entertainment news, and then we'll talk about the gaming stuff. So first up, Marvel Studios VFX artists are trying to unionize after a year of reports of crunch and low pay. So obviously, with the Hollywood strikes continuing to go on, I think that this is the first, like, big group of VFX artists that should try to unionize, especially because Marvel Studios is sort of like the big baddies, if you will, of Hollywood. Like, they have a lot of control over everything, also because it's under Disney, so they can kind of do whatever the fuck they want, and they set the standard for everyone else, you know. So if they are successful with this unionization, I think that would be great. Obviously, this is going to be a long ass battle because, like I said, you know, the actors strike, the writers strike, that's still going on. And, we've said it on previous podcast episodes, but, you know, they could take their time, strike for as long as you need, as long as you can, because obviously, you know, there were some mischievous things going on where they were like, we're going to wait until their rent's up or some shit. So, but yeah, I hope that these VFX artists are actually treated like fucking human beings, because I think that is the number one priority.
Yeah, I actually did read, like, their whole thing they did, like, I think they did like a whole statement about saying like how they were mistreated and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty bad. Basically just them being very understaffed because, you know, no one wants to work in this job if it's like this terrible. But, you know, the people working there truly do care about what they're doing. So like, it's just they're really low on manpower, and, you know, they're just rushing them so much to be like, to finish this project. And then as soon as they're done with one project, they have to move on to the next project and then the next one. So whenever you see like really shitty CGI in these Marvel studios, it's not because like these VFX artists don't care. It's more that they're rushed and don't really have a lot of manpower to make it as good as they can, because, you know, they're like, we gotta do the next thing, we gotta do the next thing. And I think that's Marvel's biggest problem is they're definitely like, you know, quantity over quality at this point, where it's like we got to pump out as many things as possible and stuff. And, you know, that's obviously been not working at all. Like, I think the rise of all the Disney Plus shows, which apparently, you know, when I was reading the VFX thing, they said it made their jobs way worse because not only do they have to do movies, they also have to do like these like 8-episode, 6-episode series that I think like take as much work as a movie, if not more, because there's like more things to do and stuff. You know, I think it's really just spreading all their teams thin and stuff. And I think Marvel really has to just like, I know they're very stopping on like mass producing these Disney Plus shows, which I think they should, because, you know, I think we both agree that in terms of quality, they've been pretty lackluster at this point. Yeah. So, so hopefully they could just lower on the amount of project. I think they should really just focus on movies again, like just like focus on maybe 1, 2, 3 movies a year, and then that's about even. I think like 2 movies a year, honestly. Like I think that's what we should be going for at this point, because I feel like it's just so much, man. Like even as people that actually like Marvel and keep up with it, you know, even I don't know about you, but now I'm starting to be like, okay, this is like too much at this point. Like I feel like I'm just watching this just because like I have to, not because I want to, and that's a bad feeling for anything. I'm really bad with sunk cost fallacy, so I feel like once I'm into something, I feel like I have to just keep doing it. So like, yeah, hopefully it improves. Hopefully after these strikes and stuff, you know, we could see better projects and stuff. But yeah, it's I'm happy that they are trying to unionize and try to like fight for better pay and stuff, you know. Yeah,
I mean, you know, to a certain extent with the sunk cost fallacy argument, I think that I am also within that same boat, but at the same time, I'm still having fun with the Marvel stuff to a certain extent. I mean, I'm excited.
I am too, but yeah, Secret Invasion was bad though.
Secret Invasion was not good, and it wasn't because of the CG. It was also just because of the fucking storytelling. But you know, I'm excited for the Marvels, and you know, I think that a lot of people have sort of distanced themselves from the whole MCU because of Endgame. And then they were like, where the fuck do we go from here? And I think Marvel has been trying to pump out so much crap that you're losing people even more. And because the quality of these stuff is also not there, you know, it's like, what is the point of even trying to reinvest into the MCU when everything is just so bad or mid or whatever? So yeah, you know, these VFX artists, they deserve to have CGI that looks as amazing as the Amazing Spider-Man, because I recently saw on Twitter where it was like, you know, like these GIFs look so fucking good, and the movie came out in like 2012. So you know, stuff like that should be timeless. And I think that a lot of the VFX that we see within current Marvel stuff is going to age out instantly, which it already has. You know, people have already called out on the terrible CGI and everything like that. So yeah, you know, let these people work, let them take their time for as long as they need, because obviously quality is always better than quantity.
Yep. as it always is. So hopefully that happens. I mean, we both still like the MCU quite a bit. I just want it to be a bit better than it is right now because we're very ranted about this. Lack of direction. A bunch of other stuff. So I'm really happy that these VFX artists are finally unionizing after all the awful things they went through. So yeah. All right, so next with, I guess, is not MCU news, but it's like, I'm pretty sure this is the Sony variety, right?
Yes.
Spider-Man stuff. So yeah, Sydney Sweeney, so she was from Euphoria. She's going to be Spider-Woman in Madam Web. So this is interesting because I think she's only really done like teen dramas and stuff. I don't think she's ever been in like an action type thing, right?
I don't think so. I mean,
yeah,
she was
been like
in
more like dramas and stuff.
Yeah, she was also in White Lotus, which was heavily praised. I believe that is also a drama show.
Yeah.
And then she's gonna star in another thing that's gonna be like a rom-com later this year or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in this Variety interview, which I did read because I've been following Sydney Sweeney ever since she made her debut on Euphoria. Just reading about her life and everything like that, and seeing that she did pass, I guess, like the physical aspect of it. So, she isn't just like, someone that isn't, just someone that will do dramas only. I guess she was able to, pass that physical aspect of what the Madam Web movie will entail.
Flips and shit.
Yeah, I don't fucking know what she's going to do in this movie, but, the fact that her character has finally been revealed as Spider-Woman / Julia Carpenter. My apologies. I think that is pretty interesting just because a lot of this movie has been kept under wraps. We only know who's in it, but we don't know who's playing what, because obviously the Madam Web stuff is kind of new for the comic books and like the whole Marvel thing. So having her be Spider-Woman is going to be kind of interesting. I mean, we still don't know shit about this movie, but I think that this Variety interview of Sydney Sweeney is still very interesting because she also talks about, I don't know if you knew about this, but there's like a controversy where like she posted some pictures on Instagram and it was like people or like friends of her family wearing like Blue Lives Matter stuff. So people instantly labeled her as that, but she said that it was like a joke or whatever, and like they were just like wearing it for funsies or whatever. It was just like a misinterpretation, which I think that was like a kind of like interesting thing that I wanted to point out. But yeah, if she's actually going to be playing this character, I wonder how it's going to pan out, because obviously everything with the Sonyverse has been in the air is what I'll say.
So I guess we'll see how she does. It's going to be interesting to see like how she sort of branches out from what she usually does to something like this, like a superhero thing. So that'd be interesting to see how that does. Mostly because I don't think we ever really have like a Spider-Woman like in TV or in movies or anything. I don't think so. So that's gonna be interesting to see how she does this character like for this. But again, it's still Sonyverse stuff, so I won't really there's not like a lot of quality there. But I give it a benefit of the doubt. I think she, because the only thing I ever knew about Madam Web, like at least from this production, is that it's happening and that she's in it. That was the only things I knew. So I guess we'll see how she does.
Yeah, a lot is still unknown here, but at least we know one thing is that she is Julia Carpenter. But moving on from there, we got some other superhero news, which was kind of funny and kind of crazy to see all happen within one day. So Gal Gadot reconfirmed her role in the new DCU Wonder Woman film. She did an interview with Flaunt.com, and this is a quote directly from the article. I was invited to a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, the pretty much people of the DCU, and what they told me, and I'm quoting, is what she's quoting. You're in the best hands. We're going to develop Wonder Woman 3 with you. We love you as Wonder Woman. You've got nothing to worry about, end quote. So time will tell, as she said. And then Variety came out and was like, actually, that may not be happening. And then later on, Culture Crave, which I don't even know where they got this interview from, but James Gunn did not comment on Gal Gadot's involvement as Wonder Woman. So, it's obviously like I think we were calling it last time, where it was a battle of he said, she said kind of thing. So we actually don't know what the fuck's going on with the DCU Wonder Woman. I think that if she does return, I hope that it does bring a new direction for her, because I think a lot of people have been going back to the old Wonder Woman films and Justice League stuff and pulling out clips of her doing really bad and poor delivery lines, which is kind of funny. But, you know, at the same time, you know, she is a Hollywood actor. So I would hope to believe that she can act, but I guess she may not be able to. I don't fucking know. Because I guess her like deadpan deliveries within the first Wonder Woman film, I thought was just like her character, which it could have been. It could have been.
I thought so too, to be honest.
It could have been her character, but then she was delivering that same way within Wonder Woman 1984, and I was like, okay, maybe it's still part of that character. I don't know. Maybe this is just copium that I'm huffing, but yeah, you know, whether or not she's part of the new DCU with James Gunn and everything, only time will tell. Am I against it? Kind of. Am I for it? Not really. I'm kind of in the middle, you know. We're just gonna have to wait and see, because a lot of people are fan casting new actors to play Wonder Woman, which, you know, I'm all down for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only against it because, you know, I want James Gunn to do the hard reset like he said he would. Like, it just wouldn't be fair if some people were brought back and others weren't, right? Like, I feel like that's kind of weird. So that's the only reason why I'm like for like not her coming back. But another reminder is Wonder Woman. Like, I mean, I actually never noticed her deadpan delivery. It's been a long time since I watched the first Wonder Woman, and I like kind of blotted out 1984. Like, I kind of don't even remember it. So I can't really remember a lot of it, but I remember liking her. Like, I don't remember her being like bad at what she was doing, I guess. Like, she seems to fit Wonder Woman pretty well, at least from what I was remembering. You know, I actually did like the first one quite a bit. So, and I thought she was good in that. So, but, you know, I've been seeing a lot more hate for her recently on Twitter and stuff. Like, people are like, nah, she was always bad and stuff. So I don't really know who to believe, but I'm just going to be like, I thought she was pretty good as Wonder Woman. But, you know, if it's time to change up, you know, the actors and stuff or actresses, you know, go ahead. You know, I think James Gunn said he wants to do that anyway, like I said. So I think a new Wonder Woman would probably be for the best at this point. I think just removing anything from the old DCU is probably for the best.
Yeah, and like I saw a tweet about like Blue Beetle having references to Man of Steel or some shit, which I think is just the movie trying to sort of, I guess, connect itself to the overall DC universe that was there before the movie was like in development and being made and everything. Yeah. So I don't know how integrated that is into the movie. I doubt it's like that much of a thing, even if it is one line. But then again, maybe they could have cut that out. Maybe they could have. Obviously, we haven't seen the movie. I'm gonna see it this Saturday. But yeah, you know, and it is getting good reviews and everything like that. But yeah, you know, Gal Gadot, you know, whether or not she returns, let's see what happens, as we always say.
Yeah, I doubt it, but yeah, I guess we'll see. I feel like Blue Beetle. I think anything with Blue Beetle, people are gonna like hyper analyze because like, oh, see, the DCU isn't dead, but it was just because it was like already in production like before all this stuff happened. So you know, Blue Beetle is in this weird middle ground where it could either be in the old DCU or it could easily fit in the new one because like who cares? So yeah, it's probably gonna be in the new canon rather than the old one. So just like keep that in mind. If anyone notices any references and stuff, it probably is just references at this point. It's probably not gonna lead to anything greater than that. So yeah. But next we got something really good. We got a Scott Pilgrim anime teaser. This looks so fucking good. It looks really good.
Yes.
They perfectly captured the art style from the comics, especially like the later ones. Like I think the original Adult Swim animated short did a good job sort of replicating the style of like the earlier ones, and this one does a better job replicating like his later style from like the newer Scott Pilgrim stuff. You know, like it looks really good. And yeah, that's all I can really say. It looks fucking great. I'm very excited for it. I'm just happy it looks like this good.
Yes.
And it looks like it's gonna be very true to like wherever the source material was, which is good because I love the movie. I think we both love the movie, but obviously they skimmed through a lot of stuff because, you know, you can only do so much in one movie, and there's a lot of really cool stuff in the graphic novels that they didn't really get into in the movie, like, you know, with Envy and stuff like that. She has like a whole thing, and you don't really deal with that too much of that in the movie, so that's gonna be cool to see. Also have like Scott's like depression arc, which you also don't really get to see that much of. So yeah, it's gonna be cool to see if they really get into all the nitty gritty stuff. And I don't know if this is a one season thing or not. I would hope not. I hope it is more than one, but I don't know. It does seem like it will be a one season thing just because of like how much production it was in this, with all the voice actors coming back, which are big stars now.
Yes.
To the animation and stuff. You know, so yeah, it might just be a one time deal, but I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people have fallen in love with Scott Pilgrim because of the movie and sort of the cult following that it has garnered over the years. I think that the biggest story that came out excuse me, when the movie was initially in theaters and then when it went on Blu-ray was that like the Blu-ray sales were fucking insane, you know, like which is like kind of crazy to say, especially during that time where it was like that kind of stuff was sort of being phased out, but a lot of people went out in droves and bought it on Blu-ray because, you know, they didn't see it in theaters and they really wanted to support this film. And the fact that we now have an anime of Scott Pilgrim is crazy enough to say. Obviously the art style is like nearly flawless. It looks so good. I think that what Spider-Verse has done for animation in a way where it's like, you know, animation can be like this art thing that like can be made for adults and look so fucking good. Not to say that it looks like Spider-Verse, but I think that that movie and sort of what it did for the animation industry and sort of how people looked at animation and the fact that they got an actual anime studio to work on this is great. They got Brian O'Malley to come back to write and executive produce it, and they also got Edgar Wright, who directed the film, to also executive produce this series. So pretty much literally everything fucking aligned for this series to be great, and it is going to be awesome. I hope that it's going to be as good as people are expecting it to be. It's going to come out on Netflix on November 17th. I think it is weird that we didn't see any like voice acting stuff. I think that's a lot of it has to do with the sort of, you know, writer strike and everything like that going on, because I'm sure that they don't have every line sort of recorded. So they just gave us like a sizzle reel of like pretty much every like cool shot that they got right now. But you know what? I'm not complaining because like I said, it looks great. It looks good. Very colorful, very much like the original comic book. And if you haven't read the comic book, please do yourself a favor and read it. It is so good. They have so many different versions of it out there. They got the original black and white volumes. They got the color hardcovers, which I have, and then they also have the big old omnibus versions, which I think I also gave to Damian because I bought the individual hardcovers. But yeah, please, if you've watched the movie only is so good. You gotta read the comic because once you read that, you are ready for this Netflix series.
I also played the game too because the game is really good.
Yes.
There was a point. Oh yeah, I see a lot of things on Twitter. It's like, be prepared for people on Twitter to be like, "Wait, Scott's actually a bad person." It's like, yeah, he's not a very good person. So just get ready for that. I do feel like that happens a lot where people like figure out like, "Wait, what do you mean this character is like kind of a bad person?" It's just like, yeah, it's kind of the whole point. But yeah, it looks great. I'm very excited for it. November 17th. Yeah, like you said, I hope we could, hear some of the voice acting and stuff. But yeah, like you said, it's probably some things behind the scenes and stuff. But either way, it looks great. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, I know Michael Cera. I think he did like an interview recently, and he said that he always like got excited recording lines for this, and I think he sort of said like, "Thank you for letting me be a part of it" or whatever. So yeah. This is going to be great.
Very excited.
Now we're going to get into the gaming news. First, we got a big one. Red Dead Redemption, not a remake, not a remaster, a straight port is coming to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 today, digitally. If you want the physical version, it will come out October 13th. And guess what? The price? $50. So,
yeah, dude.
Yeah, this caused a lot of shit on Twitter and online in general, just because it's like, you guys aren't even like touching the game up. You guys aren't even remastering it. What the fuck am I paying $50 for a over 10-year-old game kind of thing? Even though, you know, it is coming to these consoles for the first time, a lot of people are feeling gypped and sort of, like this is not what we wanted. You know, a lot of people want a remake or remaster of Red Dead Redemption because this is one of Rockstar's best games. I will hold to that because this is the only Rockstar game that I really truly fell in love with. You know, Red Dead Redemption, you know, really good. GTA, also a very good prominent series within their catalog, obviously. Personally, I have never really fallen in love with any GTA game in particular, and I feel like Red Dead Redemption, you know, for them to just put it onto these consoles, slap $50 on him and say this is a justified price is a whole lot of bullshit, you know. I don't see a lot of people buying this other than the fact that they are hardcore Red Dead Redemption fans or people that want to try it out for the first time or whatever. But I think if they wanted this to sell like hotcakes, they should have just remastered it. And even then, if they weren't going to do that, make it $30.
Yeah, dude, I was like, first, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I can actually play this game now because I always wanted to play Red Dead 1 before 2 and stuff. Like, because, you know, I've heard nothing but good things about both games. I've never really even beat a Rockstar game, like you said. Like, I played GTA a few times, like punched someone in the street and then like cheat code my way to victory, and then that's about it. So yeah, I was very interested in actually playing Red Dead 1. And, you know, there was a lot of rumors throughout the year that this was going to happen. It started as like it being like a full-on remake and then like a remaster, but what we ended up getting was basically a straight port. So when I saw the port, I'm like, all right, cool. It's gonna be like $30 max, right? I'm like, that's cool. I could like play the game, whatever. I don't really mind that's not a remaster. It would have been cool, but whatever. And then as soon as I saw the price, I'm like, all right, you can fuck yourself because I'm not paying $50 for a straight port. Again, even if it was like a remaster, I still feel like $50 is way too much for what it is. This should have been like $20. It should have been $20 for a straight port. And that's it. That would have been like, people would have been kind of upset it wasn't like more than that, but you can't really argue because it's like cheap, right? But now, like, why they made it 50 because they know people probably would have like just bought it anyway because it's like Red Dead. But I hope it doesn't sell very well because I really want that to be like, yeah, that's not okay. And Rockstar has been in a very bad spot in terms of their porting and remasters and stuff because I think it was last year the GTA collection thing came out and that was a fucking disaster. And that was like $60 and it just didn't work. And now they released this, which I hope they would learn their lesson and be like, okay, we should do this right. And then they did it and they just made it $50 for a port. I don't even know how well the port is yet, it hasn't even come out yet. So it could also be a buggy mess. I don't know. So, definitely wait on this. I'm going to wait until it's like $20, then I'll buy it because I'm still am interested in Red Dead and I actually want to play through the game, same thing with the second game. But yeah, not for $50. I think $50 is an outrageous price for this. And I thought Rockstar would learn a lesson from like last year, but apparently they didn't. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like even if they like, I forget where I was going with this point, but yeah, I mean, like just like Red Dead Redemption, just at $50 is just absurd. I think that even if they like, I don't even know what else they could have done. Oh, this was my point. I think Rockstar thinks that they're like the hot shit in like the gaming industry, like they're fucking like Nintendo with this seal of quality approval bullshit or whatever, where they're like, we could charge our games the highest amount because GTA 5 was like $60 for like the longest time, and like it went from PS3 to PS4 to PS5 and it was still like $60. Nowadays it's sitting around like $30-$40 now because obviously the game is kind of old, but even then when it was still around like that $60 price point on like PS4, it was like, I'm like, why is this shit still $60? Like, this is crazy. So for them to do this move, this shit is ballsy as hell. And I hope that people are voting with their wallet and like, to those people that are actually like upset just like us, if not more, that they're not buying the game. Because like, it would be so fucking stupid to like type all of this shit and like complain about it and then just be like, all right, here's my credit card, $50 down the drain. I'm like, what was the point of all that then? Like even with the, I guess like Pikmin 1 and 2 remakes or whatever on the Switch, that was like a $50 combo. That's a little bit more understandable because the game for resale doesn't go for like $10-$15 on the resale market.
It was 1080p as well. Like, they did up-res it and stuff. Like this is just, I'm pretty sure, just like a straight port. So
yeah, I mean, when you look at the prices for like Pikmin 1 and 2 on like the Wii and GameCube, it's like still like $100 a piece, which is like crazy. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, if I could go and get this combo for $50 brand new on the Nintendo Switch, it's like, all right, I'm gonna go and do that because it's actually cheaper. But yeah, I just think Rockstar thinks that they're like the hot shit and like they could charge these prices because they can get away with it, which they might. We'll see. Obviously the game just came out, and I wonder how well it actually performs on the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch especially.
It also sucks it's not like on PC either. So like PC players are just eating shit as well. So that's pretty unfortunate. I know Rockstar has never really viewed PC as like they always treat them like second class citizens for some reason. Like, I don't know why, but sure. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't do too well because I'm not paying $50 for that. I'm definitely waiting on a big discount on this one. Yeah, it is absurd. All right, so I mean, speaking of more absurd price stuff, Street Fighter 6, it had the TMNT DLC's costumes, but each one I'm pretty sure cost $15, right, for each turtle. And there's no like $15 thing that you could just buy. You have to like buy $12 and 5, and then if you want all of them, you're gonna have to buy $50 and then 5 or whatever. That's insane. So like there's no clean way to buy these costumes. It's actually kind of insane how expensive they are for like no reason, especially because they're literally the same model with a different color bandana. Like it's cool, but it's like, what? They should have been like $15 for all of them because it's like the same model. So again, there are quality skins, but like for that much money, no, definitely not. So I guess that gets into the whole thing about DLC pricing and stuff. And I feel like with certain games, like, it makes a lot more sense for costumes to cost that much. Like, I think Fortnite, like, you do get a lot more bang for your buck for like spending $20, as opposed to Overwatch, where you spend like $20 and you see your hands. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's not really worth it to buy skins in Overwatch as much as like Fortnite. In terms of Street Fighter, yeah, you can see your characters as well, but it's also like, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, and like
just for the skin.
And like, this can only be used on your avatar within the single player mode, right?
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, like, these aren't even like playable characters or anything. These are literally character skins for your character within the single player stuff. So yeah, it's like, are people actually buying these? I'm sure they're buying one of them, like, they're probably buying like their favorite turtle or whatever. If I was playing Street Fighter 6, would I buy these? Probably not. Maybe I'll buy one. I mean, obviously, like, I'm not a huge Street Fighter person, but like, just looking at how you have to buy these, you're gonna have to buy $12, and then you're gonna have to buy another $5 if you want just one of them, and then if you want all of them, you're gonna have to do the same thing. It's just at more money. So yeah, it is crazy that Capcom actually did this. It feels like we're going back a little bit. Obviously, like, Capcom have been on a roll recently with their games. Like, Street Fighter 6 is still like a very, very good game. But I think me and you both remember when they locked DLC onto the fucking disc and shit. But obviously, like, this is not as egregious. It's just that, like, the pricing is a little crazy, and the fact that there's no clean way to buy it with like one single transaction.
Yeah, they should just have a bundle and make it so you can buy all 4 of them and maybe you get like one free, basically, or something. I don't know. It's still like a lot of money, but yeah, I feel like the scummy. I hate when games have the thing where you buy like gems and shit, and then they like undercut you. It's so dumb. Like, just so you could pay more money. Like, come on, like, don't do that.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, it sucks.
Moving on from there, we got another Ninja Turtles thing, TMNT The Last Ronin. We got a official game reveal. This was during the THQ Nordic thing. They also announced a new Scott Pilgrim game, or not Scott Pilgrim, South Park.
I was gonna say
South Park game. South Park game.
Yeah, South Park game. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I read the Last Ronin throughout this week just to like get familiar with the story and see exactly how it plays out and be able to actually talk about it on the podcast and give Damian a summary of exactly what the story is without spoiling anything, obviously. So the main gist of it is that like all 3 of the turtles died except for one of them, and they are the Last Ronin, and they are sort of trying to end this war against the Shredder, the Orokusaki clan, if you will. So they're pretty much trying as the lone last turtle, along with some other side characters that you will be introduced, trying to defeat Shredder, pretty much. And Shredder has obviously taken over New York after everything that has happened within this war, because I think Peter Layer and Kevin Eastman sort of described this as like sort of like what would happen if like the war went on for so long, and like what would happen if we reached this point where like 3 other turtles died along with some other characters, and we're here. So obviously the comic is very fucking bloody. It's very gruesome. There's a lot of, not so PG things happening. So, if you have a kid and they want to read this, don't give it to them. I would definitely not give this to my child, because I'm just like, because you do watch the other 3 turtles die. You watch how they die, because obviously the book explains like everything that happened before we get to like present time. Not like all at once, it goes like back and forth or whatever. But very, very good story, just comic book story in general. So I cannot wait to see what they can do with this game that is described as a AAA budget God of War action RPG, sort of thing.
Very ambitious.
Yeah, very, very ambitious. And I think that if they are going to adapt the story, they don't have to adapt it to a T, because obviously, I think that when we move from, comic book to any sort of piece of media, there's obviously room to like adjust things here and there. I think that this story can be adjusted within certain aspects of it. And I think that if they are able to actually land it and actually make this game as big and as ambitious as they want it to be, we're going to have like one of the best Ninja Turtles games ever. And it's going to be like, obviously, like all of the other like beat 'em up stuff. Like, I know the recent TMNT beat 'em up game, I forget exactly what it's called, but
Rise of Shredder, right?
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Shredder's Revenge.
Shredder's Revenge. Yeah, Shredder's Revenge.
Recently, they just announced more DLC and whatnot. They're still supporting that game. And that game is great in its own right. But I think that a big AAA action RPG open world game with the Ninja Turtles, especially with the Last Ronin story, this is going to be great if they're actually able, pull it off or whatever.
Yeah, apparently it's being developed by the people who made the new Destroy Humans remakes, which I thought were really good. So that's good. I think those had a pretty decent budget on them. They look pretty good for what they are. And I'm imagining this game's gonna have a bigger budget than both of the remakes did.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. So yeah, I guess we'll see when it comes out. Again, it's really ambitious, especially for a publisher that mostly pumps out AA games. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they do like a big AAA thing like this. So hopefully they don't disappoint. Because it could easily go wrong, but I have faith. I think THQ Nordic has been publishing some pretty good stuff, so I guess we'll see when that comes out.
Yeah, that's all I can say.
All right. So next we have The Walking Dead: Destinies. This is a game where you're able to relive the first 4 seasons of The Walking Dead, but you're able to change how the story unfolds. So an example they did was like during the I believe it's during the prison part. When Rick shoots Shane, right? That was his name?
Yes.
Yeah, so usually, Rick would shoot Shane, and then that'll be the end of that. And this one, they're like, oh, what happened if Rick dies during that exchange? And then, he's the one, leading the way and stuff, against Negan or whatever, I guess. So yeah, I guess that's cool. It looks bad though. So from the gameplay, it's a cool idea for a game. That's a pretty cool way to do things. You could shape the way the story goes. Like maybe if you didn't like a certain thing that happens, you could change it in this game. But just from the graphics and gameplay and stuff, it just looks like a 360 game, and not in a good way. It looks very janky. The graphics look pretty bad. The animations are very stiff. It's obviously try to punch above its weight class in terms of what it wants to do. It just kind of looks not great. I mean, it's made by Game Mill, and they made bangers like Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid Saga Continues, and Cartoon Network Battle Crashers. So if you like those games, maybe you'll like this one.
And they are publishing the new Avatar: The Last Airbender game.
Oh yes, and we already talked about that game in the last few podcasts, where it was it looks basically all the issues I just said. Where it's stiff animations, looks pretty 360 gen in terms of stuff. It doesn't look great. The game will be released for last gen and current gen consoles for $50. So if you really like Walking Dead and you want to relive those moments, then go ahead and buy it, I guess. But for me personally, it does not look very good. And kind of do people even really care about Walking Dead anymore? I don't really think so. I'm pretty sure
there is a small group of people that do. But yeah, it is definitely not what it used to be back in its glory days. It used to have millions and millions of people, watching it every single week. And obviously, the downfall was kind of big. So for them to now make this game sort of a what if saga of Walking Dead seasons 1 through 4 of how would you have played it out as Rick Grimes and sort of what these key moments would have been if you were in control and not just watching the show. This feels like something that should have came out a while ago, and for some reason they are just making it now. I mean, Game Mill have obviously made a bunch of really really mediocre games, and I wonder how this one's gonna play out. Just by the looks of it, it looks like Dead by Daylight. When I was looking at those screenshots, I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? But yeah, I mean, I think that another story-driven Walking Dead game where you can pick your choices and whatnot, it's going to be kind of interesting. I'm anticipating this game to get really, really low scores, but I think it's going to be all for the better because I think it's going to be very funny. Just seeing
golem situation,
seeing how this plays out, and obviously the voice actors are not the same from the show. I mean, that is Rick that we are hearing throughout this trailer, and I'm just that is not Andrew Lincoln whatsoever.
No, it's not.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully it's at least kind of fun. It is going to be $50, which I think is going to be insane. But yeah, we're just gonna have to wait to see how that.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see a streamer play it.
Yes. I think that this is gonna be a very, very entertaining game to watch others play. But moving on from there, we got the Xbox 360 storefront shuts down in July 2024. So pretty much any game, any DLC piece attached to the Xbox 360 marketplace will not be purchasable after July 29th, 2024. And the Microsoft Movies and TV app will not work on Xbox 360 consoles. But if you want to still play those games, they are still downloadable and they are still playable. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is just them trying to, phase obviously last generation out in favor of more server space for the current stuff. Because obviously, they can't keep those servers up for long, especially when there's probably no one buying shit on those marketplaces and stores anyways. But if you are still waiting for certain DLC pieces on the Xbox 360 to buy, obviously this is your chance to do it. But this, once again, goes back to my argument of like physical versus digital. Obviously, if you still have those Xbox 360 games physically, you're not going to have to worry about that. You can still play it on your Xbox Series X/S and everything like that. But if you have those games digitally, you're going to have to, see where they are, make sure that they are still downloadable after that July 29th date. They said that they still are, but obviously, certain things that, you may want with like the DLC and everything like that, you may still want to buy if you haven't bought it already.
Yeah, I will say Microsoft has been a lot better with this over the years. They've been doing a great job doing the backwards compatibility thing. We could basically play a bunch of 360 or even original Xbox games on your newer Xbox consoles. If you bought a game during the 360 era, you still have access to it and stuff. Like, they've been way better about this stuff than Sony or God forbid Nintendo has, where I feel like with Nintendo you have to rebuy almost everything all the time. Sony, during the PS3 era, was really messy with this type of stuff, as we could see. A lot of PS3 games just don't work with anything, so it makes it way more detrimental for the PSN store to go down rather than the Xbox marketplace to go down, because again, Microsoft has been doing great steps in sort of preserving a lot of their legacy stuff on their newer consoles, where people could just play most of the bigger 360 games. Obviously you can't play fucking, I don't know, some really obscure Xbox original game or something, but if you have the disc for it, you'll still be fine. So I definitely think Microsoft has been doing this the right way. Obviously, if you're gonna be they shouldn't shut down any stores and stuff, I get that, but I do feel it is a time where it's not worth the cost to really keep it up just to have it up. So I think Microsoft did do the right thing, where they preserved enough of it, all the important stuff people actually care about, and then they could just move on by shutting down the 360 store, because there's really no point in it anymore. Obviously, like you said, I think DLCs are kind of the biggest thing that's annoying about it. Is I think a lot of DLCs aren't backwards compatible, and it makes things annoying. So I think that would be not great to do. But I do think they put in a lot of effort, way more than Sony and Nintendo did. So I do appreciate their effort there.
Yeah, especially since because they're giving their users and players almost a year, heads up, being like, hey, you got until July 2024 at the end of that month to download and buy whatever you need to buy. So yeah, and obviously this is Microsoft we're talking about here, so they were able to keep these stores up a lot longer. I mean, we're talking about Sony here as well, and there was a lot of backlash when they were trying to shut down the PS3 and Vita stores, but they did not move on with that, but they did shut down the PSP store as listed in this IGN article. But yeah, digital versus physical, once again, we are seeing another storefront sort of meet its end. But yeah, as we move along with the console gaming generations, eventually the Xbox Series X/S stuff will no longer be playable. But that's way far in the future.
Yeah, it's I guess we'll worry about that when the time comes, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's going to impact us more and more. I mean, I've been buying a lot more things digitally now because I'm lazy. Obviously Nintendo stuff I have all physical, but all my PlayStation stuff is basically digital. So I feel if anything happens, I'll be eating shit. But hasn't happened yet. So I guess we'll see in a few, in 10 years if I regret this a lot, which I probably will. But I guess we'll see. I guess it's because I got more used to it with Steam and stuff, because I have 600 fucking games on Steam and I don't really mind it too much. But I know consoles are different and stuff. What happens? Sony goes out of business, I'm just fucked, right? But I guess we'll see. Yeah, you don't really think about stuff like that until it's actually fuck. Yeah. That's not good. But anyway, on to other news. So Alan Wake 2 has been delayed 10 days to avoid clashing with Broketober, because October is fucked. There's a lot of games coming out. There's Assassin's Creed, Mario Brothers Wonder, Spider-Man, Forza Motorsport, sorry. They're all coming out October. It's a lot of video games coming out, and Alan Wake was right in the middle of all of that. And obviously Alan Wake is, they're putting a lot more budget into this. It looks good as well, but compared to all those other games, it won't stand a fucking chance, right?
Yeah.
Those are some big heavy hitter titles. So I think Remedy did a good choice of moving it from October 17th to October 27th. it matches a more Halloween release date anyway because it's a spooky game. So that's cool. And also it avoids all those big games. I think they probably should have just delayed it to November, if I'm going to be honest, just to really get away from all those big October releases. But, I think this will hopefully make them sell more copies, but I still don't know because, people still... Yeah, you're going to buy Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
You're going to buy fucking Spider-Man, and then, like, Alan Wake is going to be left in the dust. So, yeah, it's a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, October is slammed with pretty much every single game coming out this year. Like you said, we got Mario, we got Forza, we got Sonic Superstars, apparently. We got, obviously, Spider-Man 2.
Oh, so, Sonic, yeah, it's supposed to supposedly come out in October.
Supposedly. But, having Alan Wake 2, this, like, double-A kind of game that not a lot of people are super familiar with, especially because that 2 is a little daunting to some people. Like, can I actually play this game? Which you probably can and probably still understand what's happening. But, this is also a game that they are doing the whole digital only route. So, there's a lot of like moving factors here that they were like, all right, what can we control? We can control the date. So we'll just push it back 10 extra days to also give themselves more time to polish, but also just like avoid all of these big heavy hitters dropping in the middle of October. So, this is a great move by them. And I'm sure that, Alan Wake fans, they've waited long enough. Another 10 days isn't going to kill them, hopefully. So, I think that this is a fine move. But once again, just like on like the bigger topic of just like Alan Wake, will this succeed? Will the game actually be successful in pushing this, digital only release to, sort of keep it down $10, but at the same time, not have a retail version out at the store for people to see and sort of be reminded as, you're just like randomly walking in a Walmart or Target and seeing, oh shit, wait, they made another Alan Wake game, kind of thing, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people that don't follow gaming news like we do, where it's like, we know everything or almost everything that's happening within the industry.
Yeah, it's it's gonna be weird how this game turns out. I don't really expect it to sell very well, which is unfortunate because it does look like pretty good. I know my brother's really excited for it. He loves Alan Wake, so hopefully they don't end this in a big cliffhanger or anything, and it can end in like a pretty nice, satisfying way. Because I feel like when companies do that with like more niche products, it's always like, why did you do that? Yeah. That's why I was happy when like Psychonauts 2 ended in like a pretty like nice way, as opposed to the first game where it ended with such a big cliffhanger and then we didn't get anything for like 20 fucking years or something. So hopefully it doesn't work like that, but I guess we'll see, because it has a very stiff competition in October.
I just got war flashbacks of Sly 4, but
same thing with Sly. Yeah, so
we're not gonna talk about that, but I'm just glad that Remedy was also very transparent to be like, October is an amazing month for games, so they were like, we're just gonna make sure that everyone can enjoy those games before they hopefully jump into Alan Wake too. But we'll see when that happens. All right, so now we're going to get into the next bit of the show, which is my adventures with Superman, episodes 6 and 7. We're going to do full spoilers for this. So I mean, I fucking love these episodes. I think that these two in particular are by far like the best we've seen of the series so far, especially episode 7. I feel like that is like a very nice, like self-contained episode. Even if you haven't watched the 6 episodes prior to it, you can understand what's happening. And I think that what the plot is like telling us and what the show is moving forward with, it's also kind of interesting as well, where it's like, oh my God, is this Clark Kent going to be bad? And I'm just like, this guy's been a soft boy the whole fucking time. Is he actually going to like go evil and go rogue and like start killing everyone? I don't know. But yeah. And then going back to episode 6, just like developing Jimmy Olsen a little bit more and seeing the fallout of that sort of relationship. And also just like the reveal of, Lois Lane figuring out that he's Superman.
Yeah, I really like episode 6, like you said. Like, I think giving Jimmy some like character development is nice, because it's kind of just been there, for the last few episodes. Like, he's funny, had some good moments, but like he's kind of just there. So I'm happy to see him have more of a like character stuff to do, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I do feel like he was kind of third wheeling a lot of the time, unfortunately. But I think they did a good job developing his character in this one. He had fun with like Winston from Overwatch, the real bad guy. So like, that was cool to see. Obviously, like Lois and Clark like sort of like forgiving each other as well. Like, that's nice to see, because I was worried it would be like a little too much of this season if they like start fighting about like like, oh sorry I lied and stuff. Like, I was okay with it in the last episode. I'm like, as long as they like kind of reconvened pretty quickly, I was okay with it. And it did, they did like make up with each other pretty fast and stuff. So that's nice to see, because I feel like it was like another few episodes of them just complaining about each other. But okay, I don't know if that would have been fine because I don't know, like he obviously cares about her and stuff.
Yeah,
and he can like it's not like he did it on purpose or anything. So, and it's also cool how they show that Jimmy was very like he's like, yeah, of course I fucking knew you were Superman. Like you're doing like a bunch of weird shit, bro. Like how was I not gonna notice that? So
yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool as well. It shows Jimmy being smarter than just being like some crazy like conspiracies guy. And honestly, when with the next episode, I was surprised that they're doing like the multiverse stuff so soon.
Yeah.
Like, usually that's like a whole ass arc like by itself. But we're already almost done with the season, I think, because he said it was 9 episodes, right?
Yeah, I think it's only 9.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting to bring up multiverse stuff because again, that's usually like a season 3 thing or something. That's like later. So it's interesting to bring that up now, and you have like the Council of Loises and stuff. And obviously, not every Superman is a good Superman. I think we've seen that a few times. The Superman just murdering everyone. But like you said, I don't think this Clark is gonna be like that because look at him. I don't think he can hurt a fly. I like the villain. He looks like a Dragon Ball Z villain or something. Really well animated and stuff. Like really fun, like sort of trickster god sort of thing going on. And yeah, it just really opens up this world to like a lot more crazy stuff with the whole multiverse and how that's going to affect Lois's relationship even more with Superman if he's like sure I trust him or whatever. Also, we get things with like Krypton, like to know what Krypton is, or like they've been hearing about it and like, oh, like that's where I'm from and stuff. So yeah, pretty interesting developments within the show. I'm really wondering how it's gonna wrap up the season. Like it probably has to deal with Task Force X is probably gonna deal with like them mostly. I feel like this is more set up for like later seasons, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and just to confirm, there are 10 episodes this season.
10 episodes.
So, yeah, we still got a little bit ways to go. But yeah, episode 7, that whole multiverse stuff was actually done really, really well, especially since because people are getting sick and tired of it, including us to a certain extent. But I think that this episode did it, tastefully and was explaining it pretty well. I like that line where Lois was like, I'm 23, and like all of these other Loises did like so many like amazing and great things when they were younger. I think that is like, that is just like another like relatable thing of like, I guess like us in I guess like our mid-20s now, which is like crazy to say, just like seeing people on like social media, accomplish certain things, and you're like, shit, like they're fucking my age, and like I'm just sitting here playing fucking video games or whatever. So, but yeah, just like. That episode 7, like I said, it is by far like my favorite episode so far, just because it was done really, really well, where like everything was sort of like coming together, and it felt like that the season, just like with every episode prior, where like the writers and like the team was like planning everything out and like sort of like throwing little things here and there to like have like the viewers like see and like sort of guess as to like what's gonna happen next, So I'm glad that we're back to, or we're here at like I guess like. What people think of like Superman, where like Lois and Clark are like together, and then you got like Jimmy Olsen doing his own thing or whatever, but now he's like actually part of the group. So yeah, I cannot wait to see what happens next, but yeah, I really did like what these 2 episodes did in particular.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think there's a lot of cool setup going on. Obviously, he's going to learn more about his like Kryptonian like past like later. As I feel like that's going to be like the big overarching thing, and I feel like Task Force X is going to be like the major antagonist, at least for now. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how they like progress the story and how they just evolved this version of Superman, and like when he gets his new powers and all that. Like it's very cool stuff. Like I really am enjoying like the progression of not only his character as like Superman, but his like character as Clark. Like I think they've been doing a good job as that as well. Because again, I feel like my biggest issue with Superman was like he didn't feel human to me. So I feel like this show has really made it like, yeah, he's like this like cool dude, like just like this shy guy that just like try to get his way through the world and stuff, and he doesn't really know what he's capable of and stuff. So I think all that is really well done. I think Lois is great. I think Jimmy's great. I've been really enjoying it as well. So.
Yeah, shout out to the team for giving us shirtless Clark for that one scene.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fan service that they know what people want.
Yeah, exactly. And Lois was like, "How'd you know you were both with it?" He was like, "I didn't fucking know." I was like, "That is great.
I know you weren't.
That is great." So yeah, so far so good with this show. Cannot praise it enough. But we're about to tear something down. Spider-Man Lotus. So just to like preface, we're not going to talk about like the controversy and everything that's been going on. Yeah, it's like, bad. It's bad. We are against like the racism shit, whatever other allegations that are floating around online. Like obviously like Gavin created this film out of like ego and like sort of like what his interpretation of Spider-Man is, and sort of used this $100,000 budget that he got, by the way. Like, he was only asking for $20K, but because the Spider-Man Twitter and like people, you know, loved what was looking like a really good Spider-Man fan film, you know, people donated money, including myself. Like, just to like preface that, like, I donated money. I gave him $50 because I wanted that collector's edition Blu-ray because it was gonna have a cover by an artist that I am familiar with on Spider-Man Twitter. But yeah, I was just like, okay, you know what? There's like only a few days left in the campaign. I might as well throw my $50 in there because why not? You know, if I'm gonna have this Spider-Man fan film like physically, you know what, fuck it. But now I kind of regret it. I mean, you know, I still don't have it. He says in the Indiegogo update that he's gonna take it out of his own pocket, which is kind of fucking weird because you had this much money to make the film and also do everything else, and then he also did the premiere and everything like that. But Damian, what is your, I guess, like background with Spider-Man Lotus before we get into it?
Honestly, I didn't know anything about it. All right, so I think I first heard of it when people were talking about, like, I think they did the CGI thing when he was swinging, and people thought it looked really good, right? Like, I'm like, oh yeah, that does look good. And that was the only thing I heard about it until like the racism stuff came in, and I'm like, oh, oh, that CGI thing that the guy did. I'm like, yeah, that looks good. And then I was like, oh no, like, but the Spider-Man, that movie is actually racist and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was my experience with it. I actually didn't know too much about it until the big controversies started happening. But I know for you've been following it a lot longer, apparently. Like, yeah. I was just like, yeah.
I mean, you know, the team that did that initial CGI thing left, which you probably noticed as you were watching the film. You're like, this stuff looks a little iffy. Yeah, that was probably the other team that he was able to get and sort of do whatever shots that he needed to do. But yeah, I mean, it's 2 hours long, so it's a long ass fucking fan film. You know. When I think of fan films, I think of like 30 minutes, maybe even 45, you know. I still love that Uncharted fan film with Nathan Fillion because that just felt like Uncharted, like so much. Not just because Nathan Fillion looks like Nathan Drake, but also just because the vibe that fan film gave. And, you know, Spider-Man Lotus, you know, there are moments where I'm like, okay, like that was like a cool shot or whatever. But then again, a lot of the shots fucking take forever. Like, he's just like holding shit for like really, really long, which also plays into like the pacing of the film. It's just so feels bad. Yeah.
Dude, this fucking movie is so boring. All right, so all right, like, you know, let me start with the good first. Let me start with the good first.
Let's start with the good.
So I do think the costume designs are pretty good. Like, obviously, I think they are well made. Like, I think the Spider-Man suit looks pretty good. You know, there was two other costumes. Shocker looked pretty good. You know, Green Goblin, I didn't really like his face that much, but I think the rest of it looked pretty good. You know, the CGI, when it was like, some parts did look iffy, but I was pretty impressed for what it was. I'm like, yeah, this does look pretty good for what it is. So yeah, I think all the like the Spider-Man comic booky stuff, like I thought all that stuff was actually pretty good. And I think that's about it. I feel like this movie tried to do like all three of the Spider-Man movies you already know, right? So it wants to have like the big Gwen and Spider-Man or Peter Parker relationship, but I feel like it's done way worse than in Amazing Spider-Man. I think it wants to invoke a lot of the Sam Raimi feelings as well, but I also feel like it doesn't really do that as well, because you know, all the characters are like, I believe they're like 20s and stuff, like they're like college age, but it just, I don't know, none of it works very well. And they also really, really want to invoke that they're all really good friends, but I feel like they do a lot of like, they try to do a lot of like telling and not showing. Like, yeah, they show some stuff, but it feels very ham-fisted. Like, oh, look how good friends they are. Like, I feel like the MCU Spider-Man did that way better with their core friend group. Like, they feel like actual friends in that movie and doesn't feel as forced as in this movie. So I feel like it tries to all three of the things that all three of the Spider-Man movie like trilogies try to do and just doesn't do any of them well. And its biggest sin is the pacing. It's so bad. Dude, the establishing shots, like, they last for so fucking long. Dude, there was a part where Harry, what the fuck? Harry, sorry, I can't even talk. Harry was like walking, like on like he was just walking for like 5 fucking minutes. Like, why are we focusing on this so much? I was like skipping forward. I'm like, nothing is happening. He's just walking on a bridge for like 5 fucking minutes.
Oh my god. Yeah.
There's a lot more shots like that too. Like, it's just so padded out.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a tweet where it was like, this film needs to be studied for film school for everything you shouldn't fucking do in a movie, which is like insane. But obviously, like, I'm not a director, I'm not a filmmaker, you know, I don't study film, so I'm not gonna claim any of that shit. But yeah, the pacing is fucking awful. Like, my girlfriend, she was watching it with me because I was like, do you want to watch this with me? Because like, I have to watch this 2-hour shit if we're gonna talk about it on the podcast, and like, I paid money for it, so I might as well watch it, you know. So like, she was watching it. She was into it, like, at first, like, roasting it, and then she, like, fell asleep. And I was like, okay, that's fair.
It's boring.
Yeah, no, it is so boring. I caught myself dozing off, especially during those MJ and Flash scenes where I was like, he introduced Flash Thompson. I was like, I didn't know that he was in the film. And I was like, this back and forth is going on too fucking long that it doesn't really serve what this story is trying to do. Because, like, I believe the comic that he's trying to adapt is Spider-Man Blue, which is, like, Peter Parker's falling out with Gwen Stacy, where he's, like, doing those, like, voice recordings, which you see, like, at the end where he's, like, you know, talking to Gwen or whatever. So that's like the main story. And then he also adapts the kid that collects Spider-Man, which was like, I think like a one-shot issue or whatever. But yeah, those are like the two main stories that he's trying to adapt, while also like trying to insert all of these other scenes and everything like that. And I'm just like, man, like, can we just like get to the point? And like, also like the Peter Parker / Spider-Man that we get here, not just like the fact that the actor is like problematic, but also just like, he didn't feel like Spider-Man. I mean, when he was talking to that kid, he was like, I'm not a hero. I'm like, this kid has a whole room of your shit. What the fuck do you mean? The kid is terminally ill. You're telling this kid that I am not your hero? Like, that is like so fucked up. I was like, this is crazy to say.
Yeah, this Peter always felt like he had the black suit. Like, I don't know why. Like he always felt like so aggro. Like, I get that Gwen Stacy died and you're not gonna be in a good mood, but I feel like when he like blew up on MJ like that, and just I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, that was like, that was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've read Spider-Man Blue, but I don't think there was a scene like that in there in that comic book. I feel like the comic book was a lot of just like going back to the night that Gwen Stacy died, and Peter Parker sort of like narrating over what was going through his head and like how he was feeling and everything like that. But go on.
Yeah, I also felt like, you know, this movie takes place, like, there's like a whole thing that happens before this, you know, with Gwen Stacy's death and stuff. And then it wants to deal with the aftermath of that, which is cool. You know, like, I'm like, you know, that's a cool way to like, sort of like, because we don't really have a lot of things like that, like, at least in movie form. Like, obviously, Amazing Spider-Man 2, like, it kind of ended with that. But I feel like you don't really get that connection with these version of these characters, right? Like, I feel like, wow, all that character development, you know, the action scenes were Goblin, like, you see a bit with that. But, you know, we don't really see Gwen Stacy, like, we see her dying, but it's not like, like, the Amazing Spider-Man, that was the best part about Amazing Spider-Man 2. That scene, you felt like, oh my God, like, they did that. It was really shocking to see, even though that movie is really bad, like, the stuff with Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy was done really well, especially, like, her death scene. Like, it feels horrible to watch that. This movie doesn't have that same like emotional attachment because it's like you didn't see any of that. It kind of like fast forward all of that. It feels like you're watching a sequel to a movie that doesn't exist, right? Like, like I feel like I probably should have that context to really feel attached to these characters. So now when we're dealing with this more emotional sort of like aftermath, I don't really feel anything for these versions of these characters because they're like just there. Also, I mean, it doesn't help that yes, the acting is very wooden and stuff. Like, it's not very like, you know, like, I don't want to be that rude, I guess, like to the other actor, like Spider-Man, like, yeah, he's racist. I feel like it'd be rude too. But like everyone else, like I don't really know their backstories and stuff, like, or I don't know how much acting experience they have or anything, so I don't want to be too rude. But yeah, the acting is just like kind of okay, but I never felt that convinced at all about any of the emotions they were telling me. So and for a movie that's so built on like that, like you have to care about their emotions and like that friendship and stuff, I just felt none of that through their acting, and it just makes this like such a slog to sit through, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like that Gavin got these people who looked like the characters, but they didn't like mesh together. Like, I guess he didn't do like any like screen tests with them or like had them like hang out with each other, because it, like, if they did, obviously, like, it didn't like translate on screen, because like obviously like the best part of the Mark Webb Amazing Spider-Man movies is the fact that Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield are so like, you know, like their chemistry is like insane. Like, it is so much good, it is so much fun watching them on screen. But like when I watched, you know, this Peter Parker and this Gwen Stacy, which like the actress that plays Gwen, she like very much distanced herself from the film like instantly. Like the moment the accusation came out, she was like, nope.
Later.
Nope. But you know, just like seeing them interact with each other, I was just like, man, this chemistry is just not there. Like,
not there at all, bro.
Yeah, it was like and like we only get one scene of them like together like by themselves, and I'm just like, man, this is like not it. It just didn't feel like emotionally like invested. Like I just could not get myself invested into these versions of the character like at all. And I feel like that getting to that was like, it just took so fucking long. Like what was the point of the fucking Shocker fight? Tell me, what was the point of that other than to have fucking Spider-Man use human beings as like body shields or whatever, which is out of character as well. That was like a huge thing on Spider-Man Twitter. Where it was like, why is he using humans to like block the attacks? He should be saving them, if you will, getting them out of the way instead of using them to get them closer to Shocker. But yeah, it just there's just a lot wrong with this movie, you know. Not just behind the scenes, but just like the film itself.
I feel like I definitely try to fast track itself also for like the big emotional moments where it's like basically the music does all the heavy lifting. It's like, we're gonna put some sad music. So like there's two moments where this happens is like when Peter's looking at like the I guess like their family fucking videos and shit, like looking through all that shit, which also lasts way too long. But yeah, it's like, you know, like who cares? Like they feel like people in cosplay, right? Like just doing like vacation stuff, and I don't really feel anything. Same thing with when he was like speaking to like little Timmy over there, like, you know, with his like looking all like, oh, Spider-Man is great and stuff. I feel like it's mostly like the music that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting and those emotional moments, because I don't really feel a lot for these version of these characters and stuff. And also, like you said, I feel like they're just trying to mesh way too much with the Gwen Stacy stuff and like with this terminally ill kid and shit. I just actually kind of felt it's kind of funny. Like at the end, he's going through all the fucking gravestones. Like everyone's fucking dead. Like Gwen is dead. Little Timmy's dead. Like damn, bro, everyone's fucking dead.
Bro, when they showed that gravestone of the kid dead, I was like, yo, what the fuck? They couldn't have just like left that open, just been like, you know what?
I thought they were gonna leave it open, like maybe he lived or something, but now he's fucking dead.
That was just crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, there was just so much going on within this film, and obviously like the pacing of it and just like everything going back and forth, and yeah, it just felt like I lost 2 hours of my life, you know, just watching this shit.
I'm not gonna lie, I watched a lot of it in like 1.25 times speed.
Which I don't blame you. I watched it normally because I had it on my TV or whatever. So I don't know if I want to do that on the big screen. But also, I couldn't put it on 4K. I don't know if that's just like a YouTube Premium thing for like putting it on PlayStation. It is. Yeah, but yeah, I was watching it at fucking 1080p. I was just like, man, this shit is ass. Anyways, yeah, you know, just like the film, it was just trying to do way too much. And like, it felt like there was so much shit that could have been cut. Like it would have been fine if we just saw Flash at the end and not have that whole like part with like MJ and Flash like talking to each other. I'm just like, all right, I get it. Like this is trying to like have her talk her feelings out after that big fight with Peter. But then again, that also could have been cut as well. Where like Peter blew up on MJ for like whatever reason, you know, I don't know. But yeah, it just felt weird.
Like, I'm not against a more, I guess, like Peter Parker centric story or anything. Like, I just think it just wasn't really done well here. Like, you know, a lot of it wasn't very engaging and stuff. Like, a lot of conversations felt, again, like a lot of it felt pretty wooden and stuff. And like I said, like I just don't feel very attached to these versions of these characters because I feel like I'm thrust into this like dilemma without really getting to know anyone from the start. Again, these are characters we all know and stuff, but we don't know how these versions of these characters are, and I feel like that's a very important way to do things. Like, I feel like you shouldn't just assume things. Like I know like the audience might get sick of seeing Uncle Ben die, and I do feel like that's like a whatever thing. But I feel like in terms of like relationships and stuff, like I feel like we should probably know like that stuff. But I just feel like it wasn't very done really well, and I feel like the pacing is definitely the worst part of the movie. Like we said, the pacing's like easily the worst part of this movie. This movie could have been like at least an hour. And maybe I still feel like it would have been too much. So like, but yeah, it definitely didn't need to be like, it's like an hour and 45 minutes because the credits are like 15 minutes. So it's like an hour and 45 minutes. I definitely feel like you could have cut like 45 minutes from this movie and it would have been fine. So yeah, the pacing is definitely the biggest like problem this movie has, besides like the racism, like behind the scenes. Also, I find it really ironic how this movie's message is like, oh, like be a good like friend and like don't be an asshole and stuff, and then like everyone behind the scenes is like a dick.
Yes.
So it's like, well, not everyone. It's like mostly just Spider-Man and like the director guy, I think. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Miles wasn't in it.
It just felt awful just watching this film. I was just like, okay, you know what? The opening credits with like these comic book things and like the end stuff. I was like, all right, you know what? This is kind of cool, but like we should like get into it because like these opening credits are kind of going on a little long, and then we don't even get into it because we're watching the Shocker fight. And then once we do get into it, we're kind of thrust into after Spider-Man kills Green Goblin. I was like, wait, what? He just killed him? I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. But yeah, and even like I still remember when that like photo of like the battle damaged like Peter Parker suit came out on Twitter. Bro, everyone was losing it. They were like, yo man, this is gonna be the best Spider-Man movie ever. And then we don't even like see it in like full action. It's like, no man, it just
the movie is just a bunch of wasted potential. I think I think it could have been something good if it was just shorter. I'm not like 0 for 2 on these fan movies. Like, I remember that Sonic fan movie like a long ass time ago.
I think
like
so,
with the really shitty CGI Sonic and stuff.
Maybe. Oh yeah. With Jalou White or whatever.
Yeah,
playing
I
Sonic.
think so, yeah. I remember that too, dude. I'm like 0 for 2 on these. I think it does take a lot of passion to make these things, and you know I commend anyone for even trying to do stuff like this. But you know I think. You know, people can only be so lenient about certain stuff, and if the movie is still like not great, you know, you still gotta say it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still like, you know, like, yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, especially with the $100K budget, bro. You had 5 times the amount you were supposed to make. I'm hoping I'm doing the math right.
I don't really know where that money went because it's like there wasn't like a lot of action scenes really. Like there was the Shocker scene. And that's it.
The Green Goblin stuff a little bit.
The Green Goblin stuff for for not even 5 minutes, and some swinging around, which is like not a lot. Again, I'm not like saying there should be like a huge amount of Spider-Man stuff because that stuff is expensive. But it's also like when most of the movies like just people talking, I feel like where did that 100K go? Did it really cost 100K for that one Shocker part? Like maybe. I don't know a lot about budget or anything, but I feel like we probably could have one more action scene like towards the middle, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was just awful. You know, if you want to watch it,
wasn't good.
You want to watch it, you can. It's on YouTube, or if you don't want to give them that view, it's somewhere on Twitter. Because obviously it's for not for profit, so they can't take it down copyright or whatever. But yeah, Spider-Man Lotus. I'm just glad it's quote unquote over. I don't care if I get that Blu-ray or not. You know, that money's gone. I've accepted it a long time ago. But yeah, Spider-Man Lotus. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Good
I'm gonna say is it's been a while since I had a Spider-Man stinker in a bit, so it honestly feels kind of nostalgic because we've been in like golden age of Spider-Man content. So I'm like, yeah, I need something to bring me back down, you know. So yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to the Travis and David podcast. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.